So we film these messages 2 weeks out, and then we edit them a week out, and then so stuff happens in between the time that we think about all this and we write a message, and in light of what happened this week in Atlanta, that of course hadn't even happened when we were filming this. But I can't think about the answer to this question without reflecting on this man who killed 8 people, 6 of them Asian women, and it was called a bad day, and that at the end of a bad day, he's still alive. The axe doesn't come back and hit him, but at the end of, if I was a black man and had a bad day like that, that axe is coming back, the whole force of the institution, the whole force of everything, and death ends up becoming literal and physical. I don't know, Mahogany, as you were watching, I mean, you're actually closer to Atlanta than we are. As you were watching what was going on this week, how was that striking you?
One, it just was really hard to take in. And it's funny, my husband actually was in Atlanta when it happened. So it's like, oh, wow, that's so weird. One, I think the first thing that strikes me is the fact that it's like, yeah, he had a bad day, right? And how many unfortunate things happen, unfortunately, when white men have bad days. It's like, okay, like people go postal. It's like, okay, now what is this? Go in massage parlor. And then I think the second thing that struck me that was sad was the fact that he was a believer, right? He was a Christian and he had patronized, right? So these are women who were just working. They're just trying to do their jobs, albeit their jobs not what we would consider the most respectable. And because he was given to this temptation, as opposed to eliminating himself, right? He's literally killing sin, right? But it's not his sin. Like, he's like, okay, you guys are causing other people to sin, so you shouldn't live. And so just that thought of like, how do we deal with that as a body? How do we really begin to marry concepts of grace and love and start with ourselves so that other people don't get hurt, right? And that's not, what I'm saying? His example was super extreme, right? But then what does that happen for us? Like when we're wrestling with things personally and we're dealing with certain temptations, and who's on the other end of when we miss the mark? You know what I mean? So
I mean, it's a totally different weighting. And, I think about, of course, this whole idea of temptation and a sex addiction and so on, and sex addiction is a real thing, but to have a bad day with that, I even think, like, if you want to take Jesus' statement, he says, go castrate yourself first. Although I think he's speaking in hyperbole and exaggeration there to make a point. As a hip hop artist, about how hyperbole and exaggeration works. So please don't go castrate yourself if you're struggling with lust.
Please don't. Right. Let's not go kill sin. Let's not go
But Jesus doesn't
ourselves.
say go kill the person who's causing you to lust. He points at, like, you got to deal with the stuff yourself. Like, it's not the woman's responsibility to deal with your internal struggle. It's your responsibility. But then the racial dynamics just complicate that even more. Tiffany, I think about a post that you shared on Facebook about how, here's a white guy who at the end of the day is still alive, and how well he was treated. And of course, I think I'm learning the black community doesn't want like white people to just be killed. They just want to be treated fairly.
The same way.
The same way.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I'm thinking about with another post I had posted where a police officer just shot a black baby that was 1 year old. Happened the same week. So that black mom is having a bad day. So if we look at these two situations.
And wasn't it that she was carjacked?
Yes, she was carjacked. Because I looked into it to see first if it, was a legitimate, news report, and it was. So she's lost her 1 year old son but we just saw that the police officers do have the ability to, handle their weapons appropriately. All of America saw that. but how did it curiously go wrong for this black boy?
Right.
And his mom is her heart is hurting right now. She's having a bad day, but that still doesn't allow her to go out and kill people. But for some reason, it's okay for white men to, explained away.
Yeah. It's hard to wrap your mind around
Right.
the craziness that we're going through right now. That certainly. I mean, I'm just learning what you're describing right now for the first time, and it's kind of punching me in the gut. So I got to think about that a little bit more and process it. But that just sounds absolutely horrendous. We're going to go back to Gretchen in Diamonddale because this message is really important for all of us as we struggle with temptation. Don't go out and kill people. There's a better way. So let's go back to Gretchen.